agent.kw.com and inside of opportunities, which most of us are probably familiar with. How to get there. Barb, you and I will do an orientation on all of this, so it will make more sense. Yeah, definitely. For sure. Okay, so is anybody in here on a team? Katie and Loretta, Tori. Yep. Okay, so I've got a couple operations members in here. It will look a little different because team members have a personal opportunity pipeline and also a team pipeline. So that means they can look at just their transactions, or if they have permission from the Rainmaker, they can look at the whole team's transactions. But for most everybody in here, yours is going to look very similar to mine. When you come into opportunities, you're going to have your name and your personal pipeline, no team pipeline. So what I want to do before we jump into all the different features and cool things that opportunities can do for us is kind of just go through a little tour of the dashboard here. So I call this the opportunities dashboard, which is what you're looking at before you go take any action, before you're doing anything. So everybody's pretty familiar with the phases of a transaction. So these pipelines that we're looking at right here, we've got three: a listing pipeline, a buyer pipeline, and then leases as well. So not everybody monkeys with leases or does any type of rental or commercial leasing. If you do, there is a pipeline for that. I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about customizing that today, just because I'm not familiar enough with commercial to kind of give you guys best practices around that. But if you are going that direction with your business, we can definitely meet one-on-one and talk about more support in terms of leases. The phases, so the best way I can describe the pipeline are 5 phases. So these: cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and close. Those never change. You cannot edit what they're called. You can't move them around. Keller Williams tech team and all the people who built this decided that it's pretty standard that those are the 5 phases of a pipeline. So of working with a client. What you can customize, and what we're going to talk about a little later today, is when you click into each of these phases. So you can see that I've got the number 1 in Cultivate. That means I've got 1 transaction in my Cultivate phase. I've got 1 transaction in my active phase of my listing pipeline. We can get a little bit more specific around how we're breaking down the stages inside of the phases. So little messy to talk about. Yeah. But really these are your buckets, right? And then we can build your system into those buckets. So what are the things that Elaine does to prepare for an appointment? That can be super broad. Some people might be like, I grab a listing packet and I go. Other people who might be more type A, they might be building out, like me on the North Ellie team. I was building out checklists for every little item that I did, like prepare, put a sticky note on Gary Norcelli's desk. So you can get as specific as you want once we get inside of these phases, but these are always going to stay the same. It's a drag and drop situation. So as we open these up, which we'll do in a minute, you're able to, or the idea is to be moving your contacts or your transactions through this pipeline as they go through the process with you. The numbers underneath each phase. So you've got volume and you've got average time in each phase. So my average time in active, and mind you, not using this currently. I should ask Gary if I can hack his command, because that would be fun. But my average time in active says 24.9 days. So if you guys really are using this and moving your transactions through the pipeline accordingly, then that number will probably be pretty accurate if you are somebody who stays on top, coming in here daily, checking off and moving things around. And then you've got your volume, or your average volume of that phase. Same thing with the buyer pipeline. The phases are the same, but you're going to see when we open up under contract, for example, or active, that the stages start to get a little bit different because you're not doing the same thing for a buyer that you're doing for a seller in the active phase, right? In the active phase of selling, we are putting up a sign and staging. In the active phase of a buyer, we are scheduling showings. So you will have your differences in each of the pipelines. And I'll hand these out when we get in there, but I did print out these really cool, it's like the building blocks if you guys are interested in customizing what's inside of your phases to kind of help you decide what makes sense, you know, searching, showing, negotiations, what makes sense for you to break your stages up to and help you build out your kind of to-do list for each stage. So I'll give those to you guys today too. At the end of each pipeline, you guys might be like, what? I don't understand this. So the GCI portion of the pipeline is showing everything in the pipeline, of course. And then you've got close here. So after 30 days, once you move something into closed, after 30 days of it sitting there, it goes away. It gets filed away. So that GCI is just for your pipeline. That doesn't mean like total GCI for the year. This is just a way to get a glance at your pipeline, what's coming up, what's active, and what is recently closed within the last 30 days. So I have people be like, well, that's not my total income. It's not supposed to be. It's just supposed to be your pipeline, what you've got coming up. What's up, Janet? That's okay. You're not required to move it. Yeah, so you're not required to move it. So here's like the thing is a lot of you guys come in here and you upload your paperwork, right? You hit submit to Market Center, it gets approved, you get paid. Cool. Nobody's moving anything. They're sitting in under contract. Doesn't bother us. We paid you. We don't care where it sits. If you want this to accurately, you know, portray what you have in your pipeline, that's where you've got to do the work of moving stuff. But it's not changing the reality of the situation at all. You know, if it's sitting in under contract and you know it's closed, great. You know, if you want to use this the way it's supposed to be used, then yeah, you got to move your stuff as it closes. Yep. And that doesn't have to be, you know, the day that it closes either. You might have a weekly task that's just like come in and maintain my pipeline because the daily can be hard with all the stuff that we do. So even once a week, I think is fine if you want to do it that way. So Janet, yeah, your potential income is probably, you're like, well, that looks great, you know, but a lot of it's because it's just sitting in under contract and Janet hasn't moved it to closed yet. So commission income. Yeah, you got it. And then the probable income that you see under this potential is adjusted commission based on each stage's probability to close. So that means if we had nothing, well, mine's 0 because I play with this or I do a bad job with playing with this. But if we had everybody in Cultivate and nobody in active or under contract, our probable income is going to be a lot lower because we don't have anybody that's getting that much closer to closing. So each phase has a percentage attached to it. So as you move your transaction, that probable income goes up, right? So if we have 4 in Cultivate and then you move 4 to active, your probable income's increasing because you are more likely to close that deal as it moves through the pipeline.
So as it moves through, will your probable equal your potential?
It will. Yep. When they meet up there at the end. Yeah. So once you get them under contract, I think your probable income, you can set those the percentages too behind the scenes. I'll show you guys when you edit your stages, you can assign your own figures to that probable outcome. I don't touch them. And at the same time, all of us are like, yeah, we know the probability of somebody who's in Cultivate who I talked to one time, you know, I think your potential income, you know, is something that is more of like a goal setting, right? Like a driving factor, like here's what's in my pipeline. I will probably get this much, but you know, it drives us to get everybody in Cultivate move through, which the reality, obviously, I don't know what the like conversion rate is for just a agent in Rochester, New York, but shit falls through and it sucks. So that's that too. So this is to help us kind of take a quick glance at what's our business look like? What do we have now? What's coming up? Down beneath your pipelines, we have a couple graph looking things. So your ratios. So if you're using opportunities accurately, it's going to help you be able to take a look and say, wow, it looks like I'm actually really listing heavy this year. And it's going to show you again your probable and potential income. So right now I've got 60% listings, 40% buyers, 0 leases, and then it adds up my income for me again. On the right-hand side, you've got your activity chart. So this is kind of fun. You can see which month you've got your highest amount of opportunities, right? So this will give you kind of good view at a glance. You can change it to just, buyer activity, listing, landlord or tenant. And then you've also got your closing this month section. This is anything closing within the next 30 days is gonna sit here. So this is kind of a cool little thing too, because as you're creating your opportunities, if you're putting in that target close date when you're creating the opportunities, and you get really busy and you don't have a transaction coordinator and you just need a quick view of what you've got coming up with the closing date, where it's at, you can come to this and say, oh, I know I've got 2 closing this week. I better get on it. Did I prepare my final walkthrough stuff? Did I do this? Did I do that? So there is a couple cool little tools in here as well. Okay, so this is what I call the pipeline view. You also have a view that is called all opportunities. So next to your name, you should have this all opportunities button. Let me turn my filters off quick. So instead of looking and guessing at the pipeline, we've got, the number 3 under active. I can't remember what my active listings are. You can come to your all opportunities view. And this is very similar to contacts, and that you can do some filtering and some sorting in here. So right now, if I wanted to sort by type, if I click on type, it's going to give me all my buyers, holy moly. And then got 109 opportunities. When did that happen?
It's on all of them. So even if you mark on closed,
Yeah, even so I don't archive mine, which is why I have 109. But yeah, exactly. So this will show all of your opportunities, even once they're closed, which is a good thing because if we want to do things like tag them, so we'll talk about tagging in a second. If we come in here and we're like, okay, let me see what I did last year. I want to filter just by 2024. It would be 2023, but using your tags, it's going to bring up a list of all of your transactions that you tagged with 2023. So you can get creative with your tags too, but in your all opportunities view, it's going to help you be able to narrow down lists of, okay, I just want my buyers from 2023, or I just want people who closed in, August of 2023, whatever the case may be. So the more information you're putting in, the better the filters work for you in the end. You can search your opportunities by address, opportunity name, assignee, or contact. So oftentimes what happens is we go in and we search our opportunity by the address before we've attached an address to it in the details section, and you can't find it. So I've had some people call me and they're typing in the address. Let's see if I can do one. Okay, for example, right here, I've got 123 Main Street, Raymond Halter. That's the name of my opportunity, but the address line is blank. I haven't attached an address to it yet. So when I search 123 Main Street, I have a bunch of them, so it will come up. If I don't attach my address in here, it's not going to show up in my search bar. I'd have to search by opportunity name. So just so you guys know, there's a difference between address and opportunity name. Usually they're the same thing because we're naming our opportunities the address, which is the best thing to do. So this is your all opportunities view where you've got a quick glance at your tags, your closing date. You can also do smart views like contacts. So if I decided I wanted to filter by just my under contract, whenever I come in, I want to be able to quickly see my under contract without having to do that filter. I could create a smart view and call it my under contract. So now anytime I log in, I can switch back and forth between all opportunities. You could do pending, you could do closed, whatever you want. So you've got your different views. And again, if you're not moving people from active to under contract, then they're not going to show up in the under contract view. So it's all about actually using it for what it's built for. Uh-huh.
If you use it for you, so what do they want? What is the address or
Yeah, it comes up contact name. I'll show you. Actually, we're going to move on to creating an opportunity right now. So let's talk about it. I want to show you guys those two views first. So we'll create an opportunity. So yeah, when you create the opportunity, it's going to default to the contact's name dash listing or dash buyer. So Ellen doesn't care. She doesn't have anything to do with the compliance, but RC and Noel, our MCAs, they prefer address over client's name. Because when somebody calls and they're flipping out about this, that, or the other thing, and they're like, it was it, I put a deposit down on this property and we're trying to search it, and somebody didn't put the address in with the name, it just makes life harder. And I think it's nice too when you're in your all opportunities view, right? A lot of the times we're associating like our transactions by property address versus like client's name. I personally do. Everybody's a little different. If you want to leave your contact's name in the opportunity, you absolutely can. So for example, if we wanted to create an opportunity, we have two ways to do it. So I want to quickly point out those two ways. You can come straight into opportunities in command and hit create. From here, we get this nice little form to fill out. Okay, same exact form is given to us when we start our opportunity from the contact. So if I wanted to go to my contact, we're going to use Shamar today. I can come into my contact card, and on the right-hand side where all these action items are, I can choose opportunities and create opportunity from here, and voila, same exact form. So just so you guys know, there's no right or wrong way to create the opportunity. You just have two ways of doing it. So I'll start here. So your market center, if you are licensed in multiple states or if you're part of multiple market centers, you're going to want to pay attention to this. Most of us are just here at Greater Rochester. Again, our ops members who are here, your team name will be here. Your owner is you, solo agents. Team agents, this might differ a little bit. Everybody does it a little bit differently. Some rainmakers own the opportunities. Some agents own the opportunities. So that would be a side combo we could have. Opportunity type, this is an easy one. Is it a listing, a buyer, a landlord, or a tenant? Let's do a listing today. It's pulling in Shamar's contact. You can add a co-seller. So let's add somebody else in here too. Katie, are you in here? You are. Katie's our co-seller. And then this is what Kristen was asking about right here. So the next form or the next item down on the form is opportunity name. So it's defaulting to Shamar's name dash listing. We like it if you can throw the address in here. So let's say this is 1770 Long Pond Road dash Shamar Sharu Gordon dash listing. You don't have to leave their name in there if you don't want to. I do mine usually with just their last name. Of course, Shamar's last name's hyphenated, and Katie. So I would do this. Everybody can do theirs however they want, but if you could get the address in there, that's great. So when you're creating the opportunity, you can assign tags to it. So we were looking at that all opportunities view earlier where you can filter by tag. This is where that comes in handy. So think about how you might be wanting to pull transactions, whether it's later in the year, whether it's for a client appreciation event, whatever you might be doing. I used to do things like, so when I'm planning a client appreciation event party and I'm reaching out for sponsors, I want to know, this is a listing, so I would do this for buyers. I want to know who their loan officer was. If it was a finance transaction, I want to know who they worked with. So I might tag my buyer opportunities as cash, if it's a cash deal, or maybe Joe P or, whoever I'm using, whoever they're using as a loan officer. That way, at the end of the year, I can go back and I can be like, holy cow, we gave GRB a ton of business. I'm going to ask them for $500, So lots of different ways you can use it, but you kind of have to think ahead when it comes to tags. But things will come where you're like, man, I wish I could really pull a list of just my people who are from 2023, the first quarter. So you can tag however you want. I also used to tag with like commitment date. So maybe I need mortgage commitment by 5/10. That way I can go in and I can sort quick by my mortgage commitment tags and I can see anybody who's coming up that I got to follow up on. Lots of ways to use it. Closing date. So estimated closing date. This is a listing. If I'm putting it in, maybe down here, you can see this is where we can change our phase. If I'm putting it in at the cultivate stage, maybe that could mean something different to everybody's you, right? But if I know that this person isn't going to even list their house for 6 months, then it is certainly not going to be closing for a hot minute. So if you want to put an estimated close date in there at the very beginning, you can. You don't have to. It's not required. And then their time frame. So this is great. I know that they're at least 6 months out. Listing price, I don't know. I haven't even been to the property yet. I can come back and add this later, or I can be like, well, I did pull a couple quick comps. The estimated listing price I'm going to do right now is 200,000. The commission rate. So this is going to be a fun one over the next few months, figuring this bad boy out. But you can put the commission that you are collecting in here. So that's not the total commission. It's just what you're getting paid. And then you're assigning your phase and your stage. So most of us are putting our opportunities in or creating our opportunities when we need to send the paperwork to the office so that we can get paid. You guys can put your opportunities in here whenever you want. That's what this drop down is for. So if somebody calls Elaine and is like, hey, oh my gosh, my kid graduates in June. I want to list the house right after they graduate. We are out of here. At that point, it's up to Elaine to be like, okay, did I set an appointment with this person? Or maybe I can set them into my appointment stage now because we've decided that I'm coming over in a month and I'm going to tell her you need to paint and you need to repair this. So you are choosing when or where this client or transaction is in your pipeline. And we'll talk about editing stages. Right now, I have a stage in my phase called pre-appointment. So what are the things that I need to do to get ready for the appointment? Those are the checklist items I might be building out. And I'll show you guys that after I create this. Is everybody with me so far? Does it make sense? Okay. Create. All right. So it's dropping this new opportunity into Shaymar's contact. Now I've got a 1 here, 1 opportunity to work with Shay. Here's my stage, my phase, and my commission rate. So anytime you guys see the pointer finger, taught somebody this the other day and they were amazed and it made me so happy because like, I don't think about this stuff. But if you go from your little regular mouse clicker to a pointer finger, that means whatever you're on top of is clickable. So click on Shay's name. It'll take us into the details of the opportunity. So here's where we get crazy. Little tour here. Everything in the top right corner where it says tasks and client updates, we're gonna go there momentarily. So save that for the end. We're gonna talk just about these tabs for a quick second. Some of them we're already familiar with. Shaymar's contact is pulling in here. So this is nice because if you're like, oh, I gotta call this person quick and you don't have their number, you can click on the name within your opportunity. So Shay and Katie. And then you've also got this button that says select from listings. You will be able to select your listing. Oh, that's funny. I used this before. Once it is live. If it isn't live yet, you're not selecting anything because our system pulls from the MLS. If we're in the cultivate phase, we're not attaching a listing yet, it's not live yet. So you will ultimately have to go back and select your listing to auto-populate this property section and to submit your commission tab. That's on the buy side too. I think it asks you to select the listing, and you always have to go in, select from listings, search it. If for some reason the listing isn't coming up when you click select from listings, you can manually use the property form over here. So this little tiny edit pencil, I could go in and type the address in manually. I've had a couple people who have been trying to select like a piece of land that they listed. It wasn't coming up. It wasn't coming up for whatever reason. We just went into the property information and added the address manually, and it will attach a listing that way as well. So keep that in mind.
I mean, that's also what you do in market.
Yes. Yeah. If it's not in the MLS, you can just add manually to the property section. So right now we're in the details tab. This is highlighted blue. So there's a lot of info in here, and a lot of it's pretty self-explanatory. So I won't read every single thing in here to you guys, but I want to point out a couple things. So it kind of chunks your details up into these different sections. So right now you can see this light gray box around key information. So this is a quick glance at your opportunity. A lot of it is the stuff that we just entered in when creating this opportunity. The right-hand side is your property address, easy peasy. As we scroll down, it gives us an entire section for key dates. So this section is a lot. Not all of us are tracking the date that our photos are. That's okay. If some of these fields are important to you, or if collecting some of this data or dates is important to you, you can use as much or as little as this detail section as you want. I will tell you what does help is your appointment scheduled, appointment date, and agreement 1. So if you put those numbers in here, it is going to allow you to use the goal tracking of command a lot better, because it's going to be able to read your opportunities and your conversion rates. So that piece is kind of cool. And that doesn't have to obviously happen right away. You can go back in and be like, oh, okay, let me add this stuff when I have time. It's not detrimental, right? Listing dates, listing expiration dates, contract dates, mutual acceptance date, home inspection date, appraisal, escrow due date, escrow signing date and time. A lot of that stuff happens really quick in our market too. Like we go under contract, we're telling our buyer, you need the freaking deposit right now. Let's go get it to the listing broker's office. Like a lot of the times when we're in the groove of things, like we're not like, oh, let me go put in, when the escrow is due, like it's due within 2 business days, which goes by like faster than, anything these days. So some of this stuff just might not make sense for you to track because of how quickly we go through the process. Financial information down here. Again, we're in a listing opportunity. So this is my estimated listing price. Ownership, if you're on a team, it's going to have your team down here. And then you can add a description or maybe some notes and details section as well. This seller worksheet's kind of fun to monkey with, especially if you want to keep track of what they're netting. So you can do the show net on offer comparison. So if you put all your numbers in here and turn this button on, we can preview. So let's say their mortgage balance is 3%, 3%. Prorated taxes. I don't know. Prorated HOA, seller closing costs. What's normal for a seller to pay closing? Huh. I don't know either. We'll throw 3,000 in there. Where'd my preview button go? Oh, it's just Xing me out. Why? Oh, I see. I have to show you guys in the offer tab. It's going to show in our offer comparison in our offer tab. Nobody let me forget to show you that. So if you do put in your details in a seller worksheet, it's going to show us on the offer comparison, these numbers pulling in and how that's going to affect what your seller is netting. Okay. So details section, everybody's pretty cool on, right? parties to transaction, you guys can add in all your buyer's attorneys, your seller's attorneys, who's doing the mortgage. Again, there's a ton of stuff you can add in here. Whether that benefits you or not, that's up to you guys to decide. It's a lot of information to add. I know some of our teams do collect all of this info. I can think of a couple off the top of my head that are very meticulous with the information they collect. They collect theirs in an Excel spreadsheet. So if you have a transaction tracker or if you use Excel to track your business, this is very similar. You're just putting your information in to command versus a spreadsheet. Okay, so I'm going to go across the top here with these tabs. This little purple button next to marketing. So a lot of people don't know what this does. When you click into marketing, this is something that is only in a listing opportunity. It is going to bring us straight to some suggestions for designs. So the cool part about this is as we move through the pipeline, the design suggestions change. So right now, because we're in the listing appointment phase, it's saying, hey, here's a suggestion. You better prepare your listing presentation or go print out your listing presentation. Once we move them to under contract, social media, print designs come up that are all suggestions for here's some under contract social media post ideas. When you pull it up in designs, let's move it quick because I don't want to create a whole listing presentation. That does not sound fun. Appointment. Here's Shay and Katie. And here's a good way to test this too. You guys can click into each of these phases, and then I've got my pre-appointment stage. This little paw that shows up, if you hover over these dots, people struggle to get these moved. You've got to hover over these little dots to drag and drop it into active or under contract. So let me move it into, oh, see, I moved it into closed. Under contract. Now, when I click into under contract, it's going to be sitting in my first step of under contract, which is my purchase offer paperwork. So when I open the opportunity back up and I come back into marketing, here's my under contract designs that it's suggesting. You don't have to use them. You can just hit create design from here and go straight into the design library. But if you guys wanted to select one of these to use, it's going to take you right to the design. It's pulling the listing in so that you can easily swap the photo out, add the address, throw it on Facebook. So kind of a cool little tool. Any questions on your opportunity? You won't have marketing if you're on the bottom. Okay. Yeah. The marketing tab is only in listing opportunities. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, good. So up next, documents. We won't spend a ton of time in here. Is there anybody in here who hasn't had to submit paperwork yet? I'm looking around. All of you have closed deals. Barb, yeah, you'll get there. You and I'll do this whole piece together. Does anybody have questions about submitting paperwork right now? Like,
I feel like we, and not in a disrespectful way. I feel like I'm being graded and I'm all.
oh my God, don't feel that way. Oh, in your compliance, in your paperwork? Oh my gosh, Missy, let me tell you. Yes. I'm so sad you've been holding on to this feeling.
No, sorry. No, and everybody gets a little better at it. The more and more you do. I have one. Any fractions on. Yeah. That is a very simple thing, but I got through it.
And sometimes it's not even our fault, right? Because we're like, what the heck? Like, the buyer didn't sign that. Like, I shouldn't have to pay it. Yeah. No, you're not. Trust me. I still get stuff returned for agents that I help on the side, and I look at contracts all day. I try to be good, but it happens. Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah. That's right. But the more you do it, obviously, like the more you look at contracts, the more your eye just gets trained to be like, oh, that's missing. I got to get it before I submit it. Yeah. 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 Sure.
Once we upload our documents and they're in there,
Mhm.
we're supposed to be stating our contracts and stuff for what?
3 years, 5 years.
So can I, where there's like my file that's on my desktop, and because all of the documents are actually with.
Because it's in the Keller Williams cloud. I wouldn't, but I'm a freak like that where I just like a backup. So I would either keep a copy saved in my own cloud storage, or I actually print the packet and would keep it. Ever?
My house, apparently, and so it conflicts with what we've always been taught. So I'm just saying like everything.
Yeah.
But his point was that someone hoping your house is stored file.
Oh, so physically, maybe don't keep a copy. Somebody can steal your computer.
So.
That is conflicting. Yeah, we do keep a copy. Every opportunity that comes through here is in our like system as well. I'm just saying like personally, and that is what they teach when you take your real estate exam. I took mine 2 years ago. That you should keep a copy. Yeah. People can steal whatever they want. Yeah. Maybe the agents, they might be talking about agency disclosure. Yeah, yeah, that's an important one. So I guess we'll leave it up to your discretion. Yeah. Yep, totally. If you use DocuSign as like your form of like organizing your folder storage. Yeah. Okay. So documents, you guys all know how to get them in here. We all know how to split them and get paid. A couple of things I did want to point out, just that I forget to share in my submitting paperwork class a lot, is these little custom or these little folders on the left-hand side, which are always here. We can't do anything about it. These are the way they are. When your paperwork gets reviewed and approved by RC, he adds a custom folder in here called commission docs, I think. And that is where a copy of your commission statement for this transaction goes. So if you have attorneys calling you, bugging you, and they're like, we need the commission statement, we do send it from the office, but sometimes it gets missed from attorneys. You can come into your opportunity as long as your paperwork's been submitted and approved, and you'll be able to find your commission document or your commission statement right here for the attorneys. And also your, what's it called? The DA, when you get paid, that shows your detail. Yeah, exactly. So that'll be in there as well. The other little button I like to point out too is you don't have to email back and forth with RC. If you have questions, you guys can talk right inside of command. So again, RC is our compliance coordinator. Yes, we do have 2 MCAs, Jackie and Noelle. Noelle pays out the commission, so she's actually paying you. Jackie does a lot of our billing and deposit handling or escrow handling. RC's job is to go through and check all your documents for signatures, initials, compliance. So if you have a question on, hey, why do I need that? Or, hey, why did you return this? He does leave a comment, which will show up next to the returned document. But if you want to talk to him, you can add comment up here, and you can at RC Benjamin and say, hey, why did you return this? Love you. This is a test. He gets all my tests. Yeah. So commenting in here, folders, always hitting submit to Market Center. If anybody wants to go through the process of uploading, submitting paperwork, come to my class that is just on getting paid. Okay. So part of the getting paid process is the offers and commissions tab as well. So that's step 2 to our getting paid process here. We've got to actually input the or add the terms of the accepted offer, and we've got to fill out what we call the commission tab. So this section does more than just putting in your accepted offer if you want it to. So the idea behind offers and commissions, and again, our market moves super fast right now. So for a lot of people, this just isn't like feasible. You can add in multiple offers in this section, and then you can do a couple things. Generate a transaction summary, and you can also do some side-by-side comparisons in here. So we'll go through a couple really quick so I can show you guys kind of the intention here. So let's say I just got 5 offers on the house that I listed, and I want to put, we won't put all 5 in, we'll put 2 in. We want to put a couple of these potential candidates in here. Let's say we've got Johnson, 1770 Long Pond Road. So that's the buyer's name who submitted the offer. I'm going to use to identify it, and then the address. So this we're all familiar with. Again, the terms of the offer. So the offer date, let's say they offered today, the close date. Are things still closing like pretty quick? Good. Buyer's name, Joe Johnson. You do not have to enter in the buyer's contact information. So right now, don't forget, we're in a listing opportunity. So our seller's info is coming in over here. You just want to do this to get paid. You don't have to put in the buyer's info. I don't really know what it would benefit you, I guess, to add the buyer's info if you were going to use this for offer comparison or presenting to your seller. They really don't need to know the buyer's email, phone, or fax. So you can leave that out. This person is pre-approved. Who is representing them? We will say Kristen. Can also add email and phone number for that agent. That might help you later on if you want to add it. Your terms. So when you get into this section, all right, what are they paying? This is a cash offer for $200,000. They're giving us $25,000 deposit. These option fees and seller costs. So every state's a little different. I don't even know what an option fee means to us in New York. So I think a lot of this is in here just to give you the option, because agents, this is an international platform, right, for our agents. So same thing with like termination option. Buyer will give notice of termination within however many days after contract. We don't see a lot of this kind of stuff. And then you've got your agent analysis section where you can add some pros and cons in here. So pro, waiving inspection, con, second best offer. Maybe we got a higher offer. Higher offer with Smith's. I hate this shaky podium. Summary, you could say cash offer. I don't know what's ethical or not, so be careful what you put in here. You can't be like, co-broke agent's freaking awesome. Would much rather work with them than somebody from Howard Hanna. So just be careful if you're going to use this and do the offer comparison thing. So once we add all of our terms of our offer in here, it's going to show a little preview now. So we can add as many as we want. So let's say this is, and I'll go through this quick and won't talk to myself the whole time. We'll do this as Ellen. Sure. $25, but their deposit's less. Go away. Why? There we go. Okay. So now it's showing us both of our offers here side by side. So a few things that you guys can do, obviously, if you're accepting this offer and you need to get to the commission tab that's required by our office, you've got to hit accept and then manage the commission. These 3 little dots let you do a couple things. So you can add negotiation in here. So if you're going back and forth and they're like, you know what, we'll give you 10,000 more. You can add the negotiation in here and it's going to drop itself right underneath the original offer and just show you what the terms have changed to. You can go back in and edit this offer if you spelled the buyer's name wrong, if you put the wrong earnest amount in there. You can't edit everything. Add analysis is just going to bring you right back to those pros and cons in here. So a lot of these buttons do kind of similar stuff. Send offer. Okay, so this is cool. If you want to email an accepted offer to a seller or to whoever you want, you can change the emails in here. You can email them a quick summary of the offers that you're receiving from here. You can add your email message, add a subject title, and then you've got this little eyeball to preview. So here's what it looks like. Again, things happen pretty quick. So usually when we're like reviewing offers and we have delayed negotiations, we're like, we're coming over. We got the two best ones, you know, out of 30. Take your pick. But this is kind of a cool tool. You can send a copy to yourself as well. The other cool thing I want to show in here, so you can also remove if you need to get rid of something. If you want to select these offers and hit this compare offers button, it'll put them side by side. And this is with as many as you add in here. And that net we talked about earlier, I threw some numbers in there. Make sure you put the right numbers in. Net to you right now is -6 million. That's not right. So you got to make sure you're using your correct numbers, but it will give you this offer comparison that you can then download, and you can download it as a PDF, print it out, take it with you. Oh, silly bar. Or you can do the email offer comparison and send the actual side by side to a client as well. So this might be, if you want everything in one place, a nice way just to keep track of, you know, maybe again, if you get 30 offers, you're not putting all 30 in here, but maybe you're putting a couple in here. And you can come back later after you discuss and hit accept. They decide to go with Ellen's offer. Now we've accepted Ellen's offer, and we can go in and hit manage commission. And this brings us to what we're all very familiar with, where we just need to make sure that our sales price is correct, our commission rate's correct, everything adds up on the right-hand side before we submit this to our office to get paid.
Go away.
This guy down here, like the one that we're not accepting, you mean? So it will just stay there. It's hanging out. So if you change your response here, like if you're like, oh, nope, you can change your response before managing. So like if I hit reject here or down there, it still stays in the, yeah. Yeah, and then you can hit change or see how it changed from like accept, reject. It just sits below and you can hit change response, but it is going to stay there unless you want to remove them from your view, basically. Yeah. And
so reject is just for us. It doesn't go anywhere.
nope, it's just going to sit here. If you, so let's say, so I rejected this one and now I'm going to accept this one. So when I hit accept on this one, and then I go in and manage the commission and submit it, this one's going to say accepted, submitted next to it. So you're like identifying, and it is going to keep, unless you decide to do the 3 dots and hit remove here, it is going to keep all the other offers that you received in there. You can just leave it. Yeah. Yeah. As long as you're making sure that you're accepting and managing the commission and submitting to the office. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Almost done. I want to get to the customizing really quick. So notes, easy section. If you're on a team, this is nice because you can send each other notes back and forth. If you've got a transaction coordinator, or if you're just putting notes about your contact, the transaction stuff you need to remember, it can go here. Timeline. I have like the best time with this because people will be like, I did submit my paperwork 2 weeks ago, and I will look and I'd be like, you submitted it last night. No, you didn't. So like, don't try to lie to us. We will know. But that's nice. Again, if you're on a team, you can see what your team members are doing and who's moving stuff around. Okay, that's what it looks like inside of an opportunity and kind of all of these different features that we have access to. What I like to spend, or what I'd like to spend the next 10 minutes on before I let you guys get the heck out of here, is up in this right-hand corner. I told you earlier to ignore this. You can see this tasks and client update button. So we have the ability to set up individual tasks for ourselves and schedule them. And we also have the ability to use this cool client update feature that sends one email at the end of the day or at any time you choose, but it's once a day, of items that you have checked off. So I'm gonna pass these around really quick. These will help you guys. You can take them home with you about updating our pages and checklists to make them kind of work for what we actually do. You're welcome. And if anybody needs to go, are they the same? They look the same, but one's for listing, one's for buy. I should have put that up. One of those. So you guys will see it like how you take it. One of them says staging, showing, negotiations, the active section. That of course would be a listing. So you can label them listing and buyer, so it helps later as you come back to these. That one's listing. Okay. So these are great because they help us kind of figure out what we actually want our stages to look like. And they don't have to be this. So I'm going to get out of my opportunity and I'm going to head back to my pipeline so that I can go into my all opportunities view. So to get to the section where we're actually going to be customizing our checklist items and our stages, we've got to go to all opportunities. Oh, nope, don't listen to me. You don't go to all opportunities. You have to click into your pipeline. So I'm going to click into Cultivate. And it shows edit stages and checklists right up here. So before we start editing, like you guys might have 3 stages in Cultivate that say watch, nurture, and hot if you've never changed them. I was playing around with this. I just put 6 to 12 months out in mine. If I wanted to add more stages in the Cultivate phase, I can do that up here by clicking this button, hitting stages and checklists, and then it's going to bring me in to start adding stages. So maybe I want to do 3 to 6 months in my Cultivate. This is that probability portion again. This is totally up to you guys how you want to work it. Can't remember what my other ones is for percentage. And then we can add checklist items in. So what are some things that I need to do? And again, the checklist items might pertain more, or they might be more useful as we get into like the active contract and close portion. Because if somebody's sitting in Cultivate, what are you really doing for when they're 3 to 6 months out? Not a whole lot. You're calling, you're checking, hey, how the paint work out, whatever you're doing for the seller when they're 6 months out. So your checklist item could very well be call and check in 3 months out. Here's this little button. So when you're creating checklist items, it says include in client update. There's 2 types of tasks you can be creating, an internal task for yourself or we're going to call it like a consumer facing task. So call and check in 3 months is my task for me. I don't want my client to get an update that says, here's what happened today. I called you and checked in at 3 months. If you want to use your client updates, they're probably going to make a lot more sense again when you get to the active, under contract, and close. So let's pretend for a minute that we just went under contract. This is a checklist that I'm building for my under contract stage. And I want to say, received both attorney approvals today. Yay. Include in client update. You don't have to add a description. If there's more you need them to know, you can add that. You can add links and you can do priority levels. So again, this task, you're going to mark off when you receive the attorney approvals, yes. But when I hit create next to it, it's got this little client update next to it with the checkbox on. That means when I check that item off in my checklist, so I'm going to save this quick. So now I've got one item in my checklist. Should have done this in under contract. My client updates on, I have one client update on over here. And I go back to, gotta apply my checklist now. Sorry, guys. You won't have to do this every time, but I already had this opportunity created, so it wants me to apply. When I go in here and I mark this as complete, it will send my client an update as long as this button is checked on. Client updates. So you have to send, or you have to set your button to yes for every opportunity. So send daily progress emails for this opportunity. I want to send them at 6 p.m. I would have done this first. Why can't I do it? Oh, I see. I got to use my arrows. I want to send them at 6 p.m. They're going to come from me, the owner. They're going to go to the seller. I want a copy as the assignee, and I'm also the owner. So you could check off assignee. Teams are going to have owners and assignees. You can also add more contacts in here. So if you had a co-seller or somebody else that you wanted to be on the updates, you could add them from your contact list. If you hit preview here, it's going to show. We're checking these things off the list. Here's a summary of the task being completed. It's not going to show the items we checked. This is just a little template that is pulling. It'll have obviously your headshot, our logo, and then the checklist items that you checked off. So you've got to go into your opportunity. Maybe when they go under contract, that's when you turn your client updates off, or when they go active, that's when you turn your client updates off. And when you're building out your templates, your checklists at each stage, those are automatically going to be applied to every opportunity you create going forward. So yeah, what's up, Katie?
That's the daily updates. Is it gonna
Yep.
send me-
Only when you check something off. Yep. So if I created a new opportunity, we'll do this quick. I got to start using different names because I get all turned around when I've got 1,000 of the same opportunities. John Pecora, listing. I'll throw this in here quick. So now when I move John, or when I move John to my 3 to 6 months, because that's where I just created that checklist item. And I come here, that checklist item's automatically displaying for him. So that's going to be a template. When you guys actually go in and you start to edit your stages and add those checklist items, when you create a new opportunity, the checklist items will automatically be there. When I check this off, I didn't turn his client updates on. I've got to go do that. But when I check this off at the end of the day, it will, oops, I need to mark as complete. It will send him an email saying that that is complete. Let me see if I turn it on so I can show you guys quick. Client updates on, save, tasks. Okay, so now you can see that it's switched on. If I come in here later in the day and I'm like, I actually don't want them to get that client update today, I can turn it off. So you don't have to always keep them all marked on. If you decide you don't want that client update to go out, you can go ahead and turn the update off, but still mark that item as complete. So does that make sense? Like when you're building your checklist items out with your tasks and client update tasks, kind of the difference of how we're writing them out. Like an internal task for myself would be like, double check attorney approvals are received. Sweet, got them. Your client task, which we would turn the client update on for, would be, yay, today we received both attorney approvals. So it's a little, what's the word? You're kind of duplicating a little bit, right? Because you're doing a task for you and then a task that goes out in the client update. But some people like to have that like daily wrap up email of here's what happened today. If you're not checking anything off, then they're not getting an update. So each phase in here, you can go in and edit. And that's what these are great for, is go in and edit your stages and checklists to make sense for you. So when I go back to my pipeline here in active, Like active listing and legacy don't make any sense for me. Like maybe I need like pre-active or going live in 2 days stage. And then what are the things that I have to do 2 days before my listing's going live? And again, you can get as specific and as detailed as you want, or you might just have one stage in here that's called active listing, and then all your checklist items are in one spot for what you need to do for an active listing. So if anybody wants to like set this up and is a little like, ugh, I don't know where to start or how to get my stages and checklist items in there, I would definitely suggest writing down what you do in every part of your process. And that could just be from like printing and preparing your listing presentation and writing them down kind of in the timeline of how they happen. And then come see me or come to my office hours, and I'm happy to help you guys kind of like implement what you do inside of Command so that you can get it set up to the way you like it. Because I think the actual hard part is like getting rid of what's in here and making it work for you, which is all inside this edit stages and checklists where you can be like, I don't want legacy. I don't need that shit. I don't put anything there. Just want active listing. Then I go in and here's the stuff I have checked on for client updates. I want them to know that their photos are scheduled. I want them to know, hey, thanks for signing the listing paperwork today. Your sign's going to be installed whenever. So you can go in and add whatever checklist items make sense. And it might be kind of a trial and error first with kind of, what you find yourself actually going in and checking off. If you're getting really specific and you're not going in, when you're actually checking this stuff off, then don't put it in there. Like if it's something that you don't need a solid checklist item for. Or you could just solely use it without the checklist items. If you keep control of what you need to do throughout the process on your own, you can just use it to kind of keep track of where in the process they are generally, and not maybe as much of those like specific items as you're dragging and dropping. Yeah.
When you put those, if you do put those, different things that you have to do in the final updates, that applies to every single one listing that you put in there for every single one, right?
Yes.
It automatically, so you don't have to do it every single time.
Exactly. Yep. You just want to create. So if you have 8 active listings right now, Elaine, and then you go and you fix all your checklists and make them pretty how you like it, anything that currently exists in opportunities, your new checklist and stages will not apply to, because we don't want to lose anything that's already there. So if you do set this up in a custom way, just keep in mind going forward. Or you can go in and do one-off tasks. So let's say Jane Doe on Main Street. Here's the template that's pulling in for the stuff I have to do. But if I need to do something in addition to all my normal stuff, I can also just create a one-off task for this specific opportunity that says, make sure I do this. So there is room to do that as well. Yeah.
Like what is being, is that like verbiage that's being sent to the client?
So the description will, actually, I don't know if the description gets added onto the client update. Do you use it, Katie?
I don't.
Okay. I don't know if the description gets added onto the client update or if that's just internal for you to know like more about whatever that task item is. I'll have to test that, Elaine. Or create an opportunity on yourself, put yourself in, create an opportunity and do some client updates on yourself and see that like interaction. And you can also, if you're like, nope, I don't need to install a sign, you can archive items in here one by one. If some of these items from your checklist, they just don't pertain to this specific transaction. If I have somebody under contract in my buyer stage and I have something that says schedule inspection, but there is no inspection, delete it, archive it. But I still like to have it in my template for those times where I do need to remember to schedule the inspection. So you can add and move things from your checklist individually in each opportunity as well. Yeah. Yes. So if you're adding tasks in for your opportunity or any of the tasks that are showing up in your checklist, on your homepage, you can see your tasks. And you can give them due dates. Not everything needs to have a due date, but if you do want to be like, okay, I got to check in on mortgage commitment, it's due in 3 weeks, so I want to make sure that I do 2 weeks and 6 days to follow up. You can sort your tasks here by opportunity tasks so that you just know what you need to focus on for transactions for that day and under contract stuff that day. Yep. Oh, yeah, you can assign tasks, Katie.
Yeah, but I have a, like, can I, because I'm the admin,
Mhm.
can I different populate?
Oh, no, like your templated checklist for the opportunities. Yes, I know. He shared this with me yesterday.
Yeah.
Hi, Jay. Thanks for coming. Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. No, I think if you're doing it out of the team, like out of your team account. Yeah, yeah. Or like, yeah, you have to archive, like if you don't want Paul to see some of the stuff that like you would normally do and you're adding your individual asks for him. You have to like manually add what you'd want him to do versus like Bob's typical template. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, does that help to give an idea of what else opportunities can do other than just putting your paperwork in to get paid? Okay. And if anybody is like really thinks that this is awesome and would help them, but you're feeling a little overwhelmed by all of the information that you learned today, I will sit with you one-on-one anytime and we can get your pipeline set up in a way that makes sense for you and what you do for your systems and processes, because we all do stuff a little bit different. So anytime anybody is like, you know what, I do want to get this into place, just let me know. Together as a group too. Yeah, yeah. And sometimes it's hard too, especially if you've never really sat down and thought really hard about like what goes into what you do. You're just on autopilot and it takes a little bit of like, okay, what is the stuff that I'm really like doing? Or what are the things that are falling through the cracks? Because those things that are falling through the cracks or we don't like to do or forgetting to do, maybe that's the stuff we need in our checklist items.
The best advice I ever got about making a checklist for yourself.
Yes.
Is do a trial run, come up with 1, 2, 3 Main Street and
Yeah.
start it like you got a call that you're gonna go on a listing appointment or you're gonna write an offer. And how